Paul Linenberg, welcome to Listening with Leaders. You are the CEO of a company called Gotcha Covered and can be found at gotchacovered.com. So let's start off and tell us, first of all, what does Gotcha Covered do?
Yeah, well, it's great to be with you, Doug, and look forward to our conversation. So Gotcha Covered is an international franchise. We're based in Denver, Colorado, and we have about 160 franchises across the U.S. and Canada. And our franchise owners help homeowners and business owners find window treatments that are right for their style and budget. So think about blinds, shutter shades, everything for the interior of a window. So we take kind of a consultative approach. We know that not many people know much about window treatments, and so we're there to talk to them about their options, understand their needs, educate them about the possibilities on how to address their needs most effectively, and then present solutions for them to choose or not. And part of the exciting area for us, the growth area, is automation, right? More and more things we're controlling with Google or Alexa or remotes, and so now we're able to control window treatments through motorized, motors, and so it's a great frontier for us, and more people are going to be just adopt those. That's going to be an expectation for us in our industry and for homeowners.
How did you get into this?
Accidentally, like so much in my life. I'm a huge fan of a book called Range, which talks about how successful people rarely plot their course out effectively. Rather, they kind of come in steps and stages that are you couldn't have chosen the path looking back.
Boy.
But yeah, right.
The truth.
yeah, it's true, and it's funny, Doug, because I know your background, and it seems like you did something very similar. You went down this very substantial road that you invested in quite heavily, and then now
Exactly.
something completely different. You couldn't have predicted that when you started. Of course you couldn't. And what I like about that book and the concept is I have young adult children who have struggled with the angst of what am I going to do when I grow up, right? I mean, I'm probably done struggling with that, but I've thought about that a lot over the years. And it's just okay. It's okay. You don't have to choose the ultimate thing. You just have to choose the next thing.
Right.
And so that's what I did. I found myself middle of my career, and I had a dead end in my professional life, and I started looking around for the next thing. The common thread is marketing, and so I became a marketing director of this company and had no idea what it would turn into. And a couple years into it, the founder said, "Hey, Paul, do you want to run this thing?" And I said, "Well, sure." I never aspired to it, but I thought it was an interesting challenge. I'd give it a try. And so 15 years later here, Doug, here I am running Gotcha Covered and loving every minute of it.
And you said you had 165 franchisees?
That's right.
That's a big organization.
Yeah, it is. It's when you look at franchising, there are thousands of franchise systems, and only about 18% of them ever cross the 100 location barrier. So when you do, it's kind of a feather. It's a milestone of credibility, because it proves that you kind of know what you're doing, and you're reasonably good at it, and your franchise owners are finding success, and that's
right. I mean, 165 says that you got 165 people out there that are making money at this.
That's right.
So what gets you really excited in the morning to get up and get at it?
Yeah, it's that, as a marketer, I love building a brand, and so I ultimately am responsible for building the brand of Gotcha Covered, and I hope that at some point becomes internationally known, at least in our industry, and becomes something of import and notability. But really, the thing that gets me going is helping people build wealth. We find franchising is all about people who have reached a point in their professional and personal lives where they don't want to do it anymore. They get laid off, they get tired of it. Their kids are out of the house, and for whatever reason, they're ready for a major change, and they're ready to take charge of their own lives as entrepreneurs and ownership. And so working hard for themselves finally, rather than working hard for someone else. So I get to be a vehicle for that. And I'm not the reason they're successful, but we have the tools and the recipe for them to follow. And if they follow the recipe, they can find success, but they get to take credit for all. I mean, I do shamelessly take credit for some of their success. I'm not going to lie. but really when it comes down to it, we're just, we're giving them a really good roadmap, and then it's their effort, their blood, sweat, and tears that gets them to their, the place in life, Doug, where I think it's the greatest, where they're making a ton of income, their lifestyle's fantastic, they're able to macro manage a business, so 20-30 hours a week or whatever, and they're building something of equity to sell or to pass on to their children, and it's just great. And that's the thing that gets me going and keeps me motivated.
What kind of people are attracted to to this business?
Yeah, it's folks that have a common history, right? The motivation's important. You have to really want to do this, and business ownership's not for everybody. So in our world, it's people who like building relationships, because it's very much a relationship business. So what I like to tell our candidates, because I really want them to make sure that this is a good fit for them, vice versa. This is, we don't sell franchises. We enter into partnerships with qualified candidates who have the right things to be successful. And so it's that willingness and ability, like if you're someone who really does like building relationships, you're gonna, like, we can't guarantee anything, but you're long ways to finding success in our business. But if you're someone that's a little bit more introverted and maybe more task oriented, nothing wrong with that, but it's just a little bit of a harder row to get there. So it's really that personality plays such a huge role.
Well, you can see that because, I mean, you're going into people's homes or into their offices where they live.
That's right.
And you're doing window coverings, which can make or break a room.
Yeah, well said. And your prequel to our call was about emotion and people being emotional beings, and 98% emotion, 2% logic, and we all think we're way more logical and rational than we are, but you get it. And so that personality has such a huge impact on it. And to your point, you want to finish the home. The window treatments are the finishing touch, and so you want to beautify your home. You want to feel good about it. You want to feel good about the people that come in and see your home. And you want to feel good about who you do business with and who you support in your community.
And I would imagine for the franchisees, when they dress out the windows in a home or an office, and it just finishes the whole look, it's probably very satisfying.
Yeah, spot on. And that keeps them going. This is not somebody's water heater broke, and I don't really want to give you $500 for a new water heater. I know I have to, but I don't really want to. This is a much more pleasant, happy experience. Our owners sometimes leave the home with a bottle of wine, or a big hug, or an invitation to come back to the graduation party that weekend or whatever. It's a really fulfilling business for our owners.
What kind of where are your franchisees located? I mean, I'm thinking urban, suburban, rural.
Yeah, I'm mostly suburban. It's tough to do this in an urban environment where you're carrying samples up and down elevators and trying to find parking, and then the rural is just harder to get around. So it's almost all suburban in the U.S. and Canada. Yeah.
And you're all throughout the whole country.
Yeah, fairly well spread out. A lot of growth in Florida and Texas, just because the migration's kind of been happening that way over the last couple of years. That's a hot area for us, but we're in I think 40 states.
Wow. Yeah. So what is it that's unique that you bring to the table to make all this successful?
Well, we talked about my accidental path.
Marketing.
Yeah, and I've wondered about this, Doug, because in my career, as I was kicking around, trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I would go here and it wasn't satisfying, and the dissatisfaction grew enough where I was compelled to leave and do something else. And then after several rounds of that, I finally found my home. And in my life, and I've been incredibly blessed by this, I found that I had the perfect skill set, unbeknownst to me, unintentionally by me, but I had developed and I had experience with so many things that now played to my favor in this current role. So it's I mean, you call it providence, acts of God, whatever, but just my broad skill set with a marketing focus, because I think that's incredibly important in any business, right? Why do we drink Coke instead of RC Cola? Right. Yeah, maybe Coke tastes better, but I think it's because they're a way better marketing company, right?
Right. Interesting. So let's talk about listening. How important is listening in your business? You've got 165 franchisees plus all your employees, your teams. Tell me about listening.
Well, I was intrigued by your focus on this, honestly, Doug, because I think it's something that I don't know. Do we think about that in our lives? I know yeah. I mean, it's incredibly important. We do it all the time in a myriad of situations, and as I was thinking about this, I have to confess that there are times where I'm a very superficial listener. If I'm on a call and there's 500 whatever, number of people, and I feel like I can pick up the main points, but I can remain productive. I'm doing that, and maybe that's a good thing, maybe not. But when it comes to my role, I think that the thing that strikes me about listening is that so I'm supporting 165 owners and staff members that have different opinions about everything and different goals. And you and I know we can't make everybody happy, right? It's not possible. And so what do we do as leaders? We have to have some level of confidence that we're doing the right thing. So there's I would call that a healthy ego, right? Or confidence, whatever. But then we have to listen. We have to listen to those voices that are not singing from the same chorus. And we have to figure out what to do with that. And I think that listening to me is very closely tied to ego, at least in my world, that we can't listen with the sort of mindset of, I'm kind of listening, but I'm coming up with my own objection. I've got a response to what you just said because my response discounts what you said. I think there's an element of just absorbing without judgment, and then the plan comes. And you've probably articulated this and clarified this way better than I just did. But that when I think about listening, that's how I think it applies mostly to my world is being able to listen without ego.
Yeah, listening without ego is fundamental. But what I've learned, my business is I deal with messes.
Okay.
I'm a peacemaker. I'm a lawyer turned peacemaker, right? Mediator, arbitrator, and peacemaker. And so I get called into high conflict situations, or I'm called in to coach people on how to deal with high conflict situations. And what I have seen in thousands of conflicts is that almost all fights and arguments start because somebody's not listening. And the problem is we're never trained how to listen. We think we're trained how to listen, but we really aren't. We hear words, but we're really not. We don't learn how to pay attention to the meaning and the emotions that underlie the words, and that's where all the meaning is. And that's the real trick, is learning how to listen to emotions. And when you do it at that level, that's where the magic is. I was just before our call, I was on a coaching call with a guy that I'm working with, and upside down and away. My wife's calling. And he's starting to relate stories about how he's listening to the emotions of his little children. He's got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I mean, it just brings tears to your eyes to hear how he is relating to these little children. And that's the power, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I've seen so many people transform their lives. Whether I'm working in a maximum security prison, which I have spent a lot of time in prisons, or in some of the highest places in government, teaching people how to listen. I mean, to me, it's just one of those things that I'm passionate about because it's so powerful.
Well, yeah, you're in the trenches. You're in very high stakes situations, right? Emotions running incredibly high, and I've got to imagine it's incredibly helpful.
It is
and powerful to just change mindsets, right? And give them tools to resolve these immense conflicts that are no good for anybody.
I'm thinking of, in your situation, you've got 165 franchisees, and to your point, not everybody's going to be happy all the time. And I'm sure you have conferences where people show up, and you get all of them, if not most of them, there. And you can, people have different values and different beliefs and different ways of seeing the world, and knowing how to respond to those people is really useful, especially if you disagree with them.
Yeah, it's a kind of a learned thing, and I think that the egoless and just being authentic with people, I think is really important because I'm not going to agree, and I think that explaining the why has helped me out. It's here's the plan, here's the idea, here's what we're doing, here's the why. I never expect you to agree with me. I just hope that you understand why we're doing things. That's all I can hope for, in
Right.
my view.
That's right. And my experience is that when people feel heard, they can disagree with you and be okay.
I think you're spot on, and I think that prevents the digging in. I think once someone digs in and gets defensive, I think it's hard. You're obviously an expert in getting people out of that. I'm not, so I just try not to
Get
get
them in
into
the
that
first place.
situation in the first place.
It is. I mean, so if you're dealing with people who have oppositional views, like I've got, I teach people how to have a calm conversation with the politically polarized. And I tell them it's all about listening. And you ask 4 questions and all you do is listen. And you never argue. You don't fight to be right. I think you
Yeah.
alluded to that before. A lot of people fight to be right. That's the ego
Yeah.
calling out. You learn how to listen from a place of compassion. And actually it's a skill that can be taught, amazingly enough. And it can be taught and learned pretty quickly once you get the tricks down.
Well, I hope that I think that's a skill the world needs. So God bless you in your in your mission, Doug.
Where do you go? Where do you go from here in your life? You're not ready to retire yet. You're going to just continue working with Got You Covered until it's time to go fly fishing or something?
Yeah, I mean that's the $1 million question. I'm at the age where I'm starting to think about those things, and to your point, I'm not. I'm not ready to be bored. I don't know that will ever suit me, but at some point, I think like you've done, you have a mission that's different than commerce. I think that I would see a role there somehow where I'm doing some just good for the world without it being tied to the profit motive. I love the profit motive and
Right.
all the things that come from it. But yeah, that's I think what I'm going to do, Doug, is when I'm done, I'll be done, and then I'll not put pressure on myself, and maybe I'll just kind of restart that whole concept earlier of just I'll do the next thing, and I won't worry about where that leads to. I'll just do
There
the
you
next
go.
thing and the next thing and the next thing.
So that's good. So what do you see in terms of where the industry is going? I hear this term smart homes, which kind of scares me.
That's right.
I don't like the idea of Alexa, listening.
Yeah.
But where do you think it's all going? Artificial intelligence controlling our homes. I mean, if you just think out what from your perspective in window coverings, which seems banal, but actually is not at all. And curious as to where
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think AI is going to destroy the universe. I just want to get that on the record. I think
I'm
it's
with
going
you
to
on
be
that.
the death of us all, and it's not going to take all that long, in my opinion. But while we're still around, I think that the expectation is just going to be that the window treatments are motorized, and so it's it started out as hard to reach areas, upper windows, things behind a bathtub, or those that had the financial means. But as technologies become more plug and play, and the price of motorization has gone down, I think it's just going to be more of an expectation now. So I am working on a motorization. I live in Colorado. It's very sunny here. We're building a pergola, and so we want to put out exterior shades on the pergola, and so they're big, so they just need to be motorized. So I think that we're just going to find these times and spaces and opportunities where it's just going to be economical to do that, and it's going to be more of a default rather than an additional option.
Do you see this technology going into a smart technology where there are sensors, for example, photovoltaic sensors that sense the light, and you can program it when it's going to go dark, whatever?
Yeah, that's been around for many years, and it's that's a energy efficiency tool, and just comfort of your home. So yeah, the voice activated stuff, I think I don't know, it's going to go too much farther than that. I don't see something super futuristic about window treatments, although you've probably seen glass, that you can buy glass panes where you can put fog or you can put virtual treatments on them. I don't know that that's ever going to be super affordable, but that's, when you look at just controlling light through windows, that's something that's kind of out there. I think it's always going to be easier to just put something mechanical on your windows, but yeah, we'll see how long before the AI puts this all out.
I know. I've used ChatGPT a few times. The time I used it, I was appalled because it was totally wrong. But then I started learning to ask different kinds of questions, and kind of crazy what you get back. It's amazing.
Yeah,
But you're right. It's the genie is out of the bottle, and I don't care what government tries to do to regulate. There are always going to be people who are not going to follow the law, and who knows what's going to happen next.
Yeah, just going to make us all more reliant on technology, less connected with each other as human beings, and there is the seeds of our destruction, in my view, right there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's been my big complaint about social media and mobile phones and stuff like that. You get a bunch of young people in a room and they don't talk to each other. They're all on their screens. They don't know how to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to deal. They don't know how to negotiate. They don't know how to deal with conflict. I mean, it's not a good thing.
No, fully agree.
Well, one more question, and I'll let you go. What's one thing about yourself that we would never know about unless you revealed it to us?
I would say that I ran with the bulls, Doug. When I was a young man, I traveled through Europe and found myself with the time and opportunity, and I was like, man, I am not passing this up. So me and a buddy of mine, we went to Pamplona and ran with the bulls. There was a lot of sangria involved. We escaped unscathed, and have some pictures to prove it. So that it's a real fun story that will be forever.
That is really unique.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
You did some pretty crazy stuff when you were a kid, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you should, right? You just should.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for taking time out of your busy day to speak with us. Really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been such my pleasure, Doug. Thank you so much for your time today.